Welcome back to the Sam JW channel. Let's have a conversation about what we saw yesterday, shall we? At Fratton Park, Portsmouth 1, Oxford United 1. So yes, of course, a fairly reasonable result for both sets of teams, but of course we'll get into the intricacies in just a moment. I hate Fratton Park. I've not seen Oxford win there when I've been there in person, and we haven't beaten Portsmouth from top of my head in a long time. They always have our number. Obviously, this game was in March of last season. This was a very, very, we'll say, tetchy game. All came down to a mistake being made by Elliot Moore, where he stepped out and allowed Christian Sadie to charge ahead and score the winning goal for Portsmouth. But the lineups for this game were as follows. Jamie Cumming kept his place in goal, as did Peter Chioso and Kieran Brown as the fullbacks. Sam Long came in place of Elliot Moore, who picked up a minor knock, hoping that Elliot Moore would be back after the international break. But Sam Long came into the back line and captained the side alongside Ben Nelson, who kept his place after two very good performances against Burnley and Luton. Will Volks kept his spot, as did Idris El Mousinho and Ruben Rodriguez, to complete the 8 and the 10 of that midfield trio. In came Carl Edwards, who had really good second half performances as substitute against Luton, of course in midweek, and Tyler Goodrum and Mark Harris kept their spots. All eyes from an Oxford point of view were on Josh Murphy, of course, our full man that powered us to the championship. His dynamite performances, especially of course in that final, two brilliant goals, could have maybe had 3 or 4 goals. Of course, he left us in the summer. We talked about that in the transfer video, but he was the main threat that we were looking at from for Portsmouth from an Oxford perspective. A big change for Portsmouth in the fact that Schmidt came in place of Will Norris. Of course, Will Norris conceded 6 goals midweek at the Britannia, and evidently John Mousinho decided he had to take Will Norris out to give a little bit more competition for that spot and show Will Norris that his leeway for his performances last season has well and truly ended. As for the rest of the Portsmouth 11, a lot of these players, of course, we saw last season when we played them. Obviously, Richard McIntyre's an Oxford Youth player. Tom McIntyre, former Reading player, came in to Portsmouth in January, and it's the first time from an Oxford perspective seeing Regan Paul in a Portsmouth show. Of course, he missed the entirety of last season due to an injury he picked up. I think it was like very early in the campaign, it might have been second game, and it was also a chance to see Sorensen, who obviously came over from it was a Danish club, Esbjerg, I think it was. Anyway, a substitution that came on, we'll touch obviously on the individual impacts, but Oxford brought on Greg Lee in place of Ben Nelson, Siriki Dembele, Dane Scarlett, and the man that got the vital goal for Oxford United, Louis Sibley. So if we look at the first half statistics, fair to say that for the most part, neither side was offering much quality in the attacking third. Fairly even in terms of the possession stats. Portsmouth had 2 more shots, obviously a bit more XG. That does all come down though to, of course, the very, very early penalty that Sorensen had saved by Jamie Cumming. Of course, the actual penalty decision itself, look, it's in modern football, it's a penalty. I can understand why Will Volks' arm is up there, because it's kind of the natural shape of his body. When you go for the block, you kind of like to anchor yourself, but it hits his hand, it's a penalty. Sorensen, look, I don't know his record, but the reality is that Jamie Cumming I think it was perfect for this game for Jamie Cumming to have the performance that he did, given his performance at Fratton Park last season. Brilliantly gets down to his left-hand side to deny Sorensen. I can see what Sorensen's trying to do. He's trying to sneak it on the ground so low that he thinks Jamie Cumming can't get there, but we know Jamie's got phenomenal reflexes, and he manages to get down, and then he's also quick enough to then scramble onto the loose ball after the save to deny a rebound Portsmouth finish. After that, as you can see on the shot map, there's a lot of efforts that come from outside the area from Portsmouth, and it was a lot of pot shots. Really a case of Oxford being very resilient in the defensive third and not giving Portsmouth a lot of entry into our area. Now, we did have a fair number of chances ourselves. First one came in 14th minute. I will say that it's similar to the Norwich game. It did take us a bit of time to grow into this game. Portsmouth started like a house on fire. I'd expect that, given, trying to bounce off the back of a 6-1 loss back at Fratton Park, hoping to really kickstart their campaign. Some of their fans described Stoke and the game against us yesterday as this is when their season really starts, given the first few games of the campaign they had. So I can understand why their players started so energetically. Our first shot came in the 14th minute. Lovely run by Carl Edwards on the right hand side, cuts it back. Mark Harris, I can see what he's trying to do. He's trying to sweep it home with his right foot, but his left foot, his standing foot, it just ball ricochets off it and goes wide. A couple of other decent opportunities. Ruben Rodriguez had a little bit of a similar one. He receives the ball, I believe it might have been from Idris El Mousinho, and he just takes it a little bit too far wide of Schmid, has to cut back and end up taking a really scooped shot that just ends up in the Portsmouth stands. But we were starting to kind of have a bit more quality opportunities. I think the best chance of this half, obviously other than the penalty, is this one from Idris El Mousinho. Ball slid to him from Tyler Goodrum, I believe it was. And it's similar in some way to the one that he missed against Luton, except I think the shot is a lot better, and a lot of credit has to go to Schmid in the Portsmouth goal for denying him. It's a good ball through. El Mousinho, he's positioned himself so he's going to kind of sweep it around Schmid, but Schmid does really well to get down low to his left-hand side to deny Idris El Mousinho, and that was a superb effort, but no dice. One or two more chances for Oxford, and then this is when kind of as we get towards half time, a couple more big chances come for Portsmouth. So it's quantity but not really the quality. Like I said, both sides really lacking in a proper any quality, any lethality in front of goal. So that was half time. Of course, for Oxford, we had the problem that Ben Nelson had gone down about half an hour in, and it turned out he actually had to come off. I'm hoping again, much like Elliot Moore, that is going to be it's just a precautionary matter to take him off, because he looked okay when he came back on the pitch. Hopefully, like I said, we've got the international break. Hopefully, we can get both the centre backs back fit, because it'd be gutting to lose them both. But that was the change we made at half time. We brought on Greg Lee, switching Kieran Brown to centre back. Second half, look, Portsmouth again started brilliantly. They started a much better side. Here we go. The first chance was Christian Sadie. Again, started the second half much as they started the first half. A lot of these efforts, like I say, a lot from outside the area or the edge of the area, but none of real quality from Portsmouth. And I thought, okay, we're weathering the storm, we're looking okay, let's kind of get the flow back into this game for an Oxford point of view, let's dictate the tempo and let's see if we can get a goal. By the time we tried to do that, we were 1-0 down. So again, we'll come on to player ratings in a bit, but I thought Peter Kyoto had a pretty good day, and he wasn't massively troubled by anything Josh Murphy was doing on the left-hand side, except this one occasion. Murphy receives the ball, I believe from Olgive, down the line, hits the byline, cuts it back, and Kieran Brown just doesn't pick up his man. I believe there are 2 Portsmouth players on him. He doesn't pick up either of them, let alone Mahoney, who head past Jamie Cumming to give the home side a 1-0 lead. That goal, it came at a perfect time for Portsmouth, not a great time for Oxford, because it killed any, for about 5 minutes, it killed any kind of attacking sense we had, and as you'll see, they started to kind of pile on a bit more pressure. Another big chance by Mahoney there. I think it was slightly after this that Portsmouth, other than obviously, like I said, other than the penalty, their second biggest chance of the game comes, or I think it might have been Sadie or something like that, heads the ball down, and I know it might have been, I can't find it. It seems to have not probably picked it up from Mob's shot map. I can't remember who it was. I think that might have been Christian Sadie, like I said. Heads down, off one post, goes across the goal line, and then Will Vaughan just clears it. It's a brilliant opportunity, but like I say, that we were really living on borrowed time, and there was a lot of concern that this could become a pretty, not embarrassing, but this could become an unsurmountable scoreline for Oxford. But thankfully, one of Dez's subs came good. Like I said, the last man that came on was Louis Sibley for Oxford United, and this lad has had to bide his time and literally been on the pitch. I'd say it was about 2 minutes in-game time, but I think maybe a minute, if that. Ball is played forward. I believe it was Volks to Kioso. Kioso went down the line, hit kind of the in line with the edge of the Portsmouth area, cut it back. Louis Sibley takes a touch and strikes it home on the floor. It's something Des Buckingham has said after the game that he does a lot in training. Smashes home, and I thought very interestingly, instead of kind of celebrating going wild the fact we've equalised, the majority of the squad get the ball, get it back to the halfway line because they think they can go and win this game. Obviously it didn't turn out that way, but it showed that the mentality of this Oxford side was very much, we don't want to just draw this game, we want to go and win this game. But in terms of Louis Sibley's goal, it takes a minor nick off a Portsmouth player, but I don't think enough to affect where the ball would have ended up. I think still, if the block doesn't come in, I think that Schmid doesn't get down to it, and I think Louis Sibley gets the goal. Like I say, this lad had to bide his time. Only real minutes for Oxford United came in the 2 EFL Cup games we had against Peterborough and against Coventry. He gets about 20 minutes here, and I think justifies himself a start against West Brom. For the majority of the end of the game, we see a couple more really big chances for Portsmouth. This one here, Christian Sadie, this was literally, they'd gone right up the other end, and I was thinking we were kind of just done celebrating in the away end, and we looked and we see Josh Murphy running down the line with the ball straight from kickoff, thinking surely not, surely we're not just about to concede, literally seconds after getting back level. But thankfully they weren't able to convert. Sorensen, I believe this is a big save from Jamie Cumming. A bit of a scramble in the area, and Jamie Cumming, a bit like he did against Luton, claws it away. Big save from Jamie Cumming, and again we'll touch on his performance in a minute because I think this performance at Fratton Park is very apt for Jamie Cumming. A couple of more big opportunities. There will be 0.23, and there was 1 or 2 opportunities that we had. This wasn't a great one for Louis Sibley. This was very much, I think he got buoyed up by the crowd and by the fact that he'd scored his first goal. We were kind of shouting at him, shoot, and it dragged it wide. The only real kind of big one for Oxford, this Kioso one was quite hilarious. Ball comes in from a corner kick from Will Vaughan, it's headed away, and then Kioso goes, why not, I'll tries a bicycle kick and almost ends up hitting his mate Josh Murphy in the face. But this one from Sriki Dembele is Oxford's only real other attempt in that second half. Ball is played forward, I believe, by Louis Sibley, and Dembele, he's got the pace, but he's just slightly muscled off the ball. It's not a penalty, it's kind of a slight shoulder, but he's able to get the shot off and not able to put it on target, but it was a decent opportunity for Sriki Dembele. Then it just became, after a few more kind of pot shots from Oxford United, it became pressure from Portsmouth. They were trying to find that winning goal. As you can see, kind of, 88, 86, 93. There was another one that Fotmov's don't recall. And yeah, it finished Oxford United 1, Portsmouth 1. Looking at the overall stats for the game, very balanced. On possession of the ball, of control of the game. Neither side particularly good with the ball. Portsmouth created a lot more chances, but both sides not managing an awful, a decent percentage of their efforts on target. Portsmouth missed all 3 of their big chances, and Louis Sibley converting a not big chance for Oxford, but we missed our big one. I believe that one might be the Idris El Mousinho effort. Obviously, we have to bear in mind in terms of the XG that Portsmouth is it is enhanced by the 0.79 of the penalty. We've talked about a couple of videos ago about how high XG penalties are. And to see one saved and still have it count as 0.79 on a team's expected goals is a big thing. Overall, I think if we look at kind of a lot of these other stats from the game, it's a very, very, I don't think Portsmouth fans will agree, I think it's a very fair point. Look, we didn't do enough to win this game. They didn't have the quality to go on and win it. And ultimately for them, it's, for us, it's to come back and get the point. It's very good from us. Twice in the space of a couple of days, we've come from behind to grab a point in an away fixture, our first away point of the campaign, and 3 draws in a row. For Portsmouth, of course, they are still without a win. There's a handful of, I think 4 of them in the Premier League that are still without a win. But there's still a fair few in, I think there's 3 or 4 in the EFL, still without a win. Portsmouth are that in the Championship, and they are, like I said, their fans were saying that the Stoke game in this game is when their season starts, and they've got 1 point from what they thought was going to be a possible 6. Look, Portsmouth, obviously they have quality in their side, but they're lacking a bit of quality in front of goal. The goal by Omani was the first goal they've scored at Fratton Park this campaign. Scored by a Portsmouth player, I should say, because the other goal was a Luke O'Nien own goal. Yeah, like I say, no one was really good enough to win this game of football. Again, looking at the respective starting 11s, if we'll go through them very, very briefly. Jamie Cumming, like I said, man of the match performance. Very apt that Jamie gets man of the match. Like I said, if you look at the game at Fratton Park in March, he is the one that spills into the back of his own net an early Callum Lang chance that gives Portsmouth a 1-0 lead. And very apt, like I say, that he saves the penalty and makes a couple of big saves to deny Portsmouth players. Peter Kioso, his performance just gets better and better and better. Last 3 videos now, I've said that this is probably Peter Kioso's best performance in Oxford United shirt, and I think this was, other than obviously unfortunately the ball for the assist. Josh Murphy didn't get the best of Peter Kioso, other than that one chance all afternoon. Peter Kioso brilliantly used his body. We know as Oxford fans that if you have a fullback that's not as quick as Josh Murphy, with Josh running at them, he's going to get the better of them. He's going to cause them real issues. But we've got Peter Kioso, who brilliantly, in a couple of moments, used his body to hold off Josh Murphy to see the ball out for goal kicks. He's quick enough to be able to keep up with Josh Murphy. So, it's why Peter Kio's is such a vital player, especially in these types of games against players like Josh Murphy. Look at the rest of that back four. Obviously, to lose Ben Nelson at half-time is really gutting. I thought he was having another pretty decent performance. Sam Long and Kieran Brown. Sam Long, to give him an 8.1 is, I think, a bit fair. Look, as a fan base, there's a lot of discussions that happen around Sam Long. Look, I in no way think that he's the Bista Baresi. I don't think he's the best centre back that we've ever had. But I also don't think, as some do, that he's barely Championship quality. And those that think he's barely League One quality. Sam Long has shown continuously that he has. He's improved. He's grown with the club. He's grown with the level. This wasn't his best performance. There was a couple of times misplaced passes. There's a couple of aerial duels he didn't win, which unfortunately happens when you've got bigger attackers coming up against a 5'11" centre back. He's not as good as I would hope at using his body, using his ever so slightly small stature as compared to attackers in defensive actions. I don't think he was awful. He had a couple of really big defensive contributions, but I think in terms of like I say, the ratings that we use, I didn't think he was at an 8.1. I think he was maybe kind of a 6.8, maybe a 7. It was fine. I thought, like I say, there was a couple of instances where he made a couple of big mistakes. There's one where he kind of is an errant back pass. I think might be Sorensen who chases onto it. But thankfully Kieran Brown is there to sweep up. But like I say, he's not the Bista Baresi, but he's also not the worst defender this club has ever seen. Let's give someone some kind of credit. Kieran Brown, you can very much split Kieran's game in two halves, much like I think you could with most of his performances. The thing with Kieran is that I don't think he works well as a defensive left back when we're playing away from home. I don't think he's, especially obviously against quick wingers and fullbacks, I think he struggles. Interestingly, at Grenoble Road, obviously the Burnley game, not counting, when we have more of the ball, when we can dictate the tempo of a game, he looks much more comfortable because he's got that extra few seconds. I don't think Kieran quite works as a left back when we were playing away, though he did step in much better into the centre and had a very, very good performance of, say, for one or two mistakes. Will Volks, I believe he's the player on the line to clear the chance that rattles off the inside of the post for Portsmouth. Will Volks, look, again, his passing actually, I think this goes to the vast majority of Oxford players. Passes, a lot of errant passes, but when it came to, if you look at kind of that middle third of the game, really good in terms of dispossessing Portsmouth players, getting the ball forward. My only major critique of Will Volks is something that's not, I'm not going to say necessarily his fault, but it's something that this club has always had, is that he's not a good set-piece taker. If you look at the set-piece taker through for Oxford at the minute, Cameron Brannigan obviously is a no-brainer when it comes to penalties. Corner kicks and free kicks, he's got like a 50% record in terms of if they're decent or not. Will Volks, I think he's 40-60. We don't have good set-piece takers, I say not free kick takers, set-piece takers at this football club. It's something we've never really specialised in or gone hard into. But a lot of very errant crosses. Sometimes he doesn't beat the first man. Sometimes his crosses are way too floated, so they end up at the back of the area. So players like Idris El-Mazouli and Tyler Goodrum have to sweep up for him. Set pieces, like I said, I'm not going to hold it against Will the fact that with this football club we just seemingly don't care about set pieces. El-Mazouli, this was maybe his worst performance, but even then I don't think he was that bad. we've talked so much about just how good this lad is on the ball. I've gushed about it, you know, for every time he's played. Much like Volks, was very good in the middle and attacking thirds, dispossessing Portsmouth players, playing some really good balls forward, and of course he's got that shot, but defensively he was a bit lacking. Ruben Rodriguez. Ruben, this was maybe his worst performance of the season. Trying to think of his other ones. Yeah, I think this might be his worst of the campaign. Ruben, first half, I thought he was pretty good, but that does go hand in hand with the fact the second half he was pretty much invisible. So I think it was right that he got hooked off, and like I say, I think Louis Sibley has very much earned his space in this team as the 10 ahead of Ruben Rodriguez. Carl Edwards, first half looked very good, just started to fade in that second half. Understandable given he's still just coming back from that lengthy injury. You know, 4 games into his comeback, so I'm going to give him a bit of time. You know, another hour on his legs, do it good to get him a bit more game time. Tyler Goodrum, again, a bit like some of the others, good in the middle and attacking thirds when it comes to putting pressure on, dispossessing Portsmouth players, but didn't create an awful lot. We've had the conversation, I think it was actually in the last video, about Tyler's interesting blend of attributes in the fact that he's got a really low centre of gravity, but he's not blisteringly quick like you'd expect a lot of players who have that low centre of gravity to be. Like I say, I think it was lucky to finish the game, and I think maybe he shouldn't start the next one against West Brom. Mark Harris wasn't in the graveyard shift, but was feeding off scraps for the most part. Look, obviously, he had 1 or 2 okay opportunities, but didn't have anything major. Hopefully we can give a bit better service so we can, you know, get back in the scoring vein he had at the beginning of the campaign. Just looking at the sub very quickly, like I said, Greg Lee, Sariki Dembele, Dane Scarlett and Louis Sibley. Greg came on, very steady Eddie. You know, Greg's always reliable to come on as a left back, and obviously, like I said, to have that more athletic fullback, whether it be in aerial duels or when it comes to chasing down your man, Greg is the perfect left back, I think, for Dez's system, alongside, of course, Peter Kioso on the other side. Dembele had his worst performance in Oxford shirt, didn't do a lot in half an hour, obviously had that one big chance. Did trouble Williams and I think it was Zach Swanson when he came on, but not an awful lot in terms of chance creation from Sariki Dembele. Dane Scarlett, obviously interesting to see him return to Fratton Park after his loan spell, what was it, 2.5, 3 years ago, something like that. Dane Scarlett, he's getting better. Dane, he used his body quite well, did well to hold off Portsmouth players, played the ball relatively well, good hold-up play, and there was a similar chance, I think it was to Bristol City. More ball comes over his shoulder, and he's got not a lot of time to either decide to take a shot or control it and then try and take it around Schmidt, but the goalkeeper's already on top of it. Fine, just hoping he'll get up to speed very quickly, because, you know, it's clear that this player has got some quality, but we just need to see more. And then, like I said, Louis Sibley, this lad has had to wait an awful long time for his chance at Oxford United, and I'm really, really happy with the performance he put in. And like I said, I think he should start again in the middle and attacking third. Looked really good, really proactive when it came to dispossessing the man, getting the ball forward. And it was interesting, obviously we know that Louis Sibley hated playing as a left wing back under Paul Warne last season, but in desperate moments he looked more than willing to kind of sacrifice position as the 10 and just get involved in the dirty work, get it done, get up pitch, which is what you want from your 10th. We've seen what Ruben does when he's really committed to doing the dirty work. So like I say, very, very happy with the performance from Louis Sibley. But that was my thoughts on Oxford United's 1-1 draw with Portsmouth. In terms of the fan base, the Ox fans, we were deafening for the most part. Their goal, I have to say, did take the sting out of us, and there was a lot of arguments going on until Louis kind of reignited us. That was, like I say, even more relation to the fact that kind of we were going from arguing with each other to kind of, oh my god, we've equalised, let's go absolutely mental again. But we made some great noise. A little bit of, like I say, the squabbling. It's something you can't help, annoyingly, but it's something that we as a fan base need to kind of. There's far too many people, far too quick to try and just blame it on individuals instead of and trying to sack games off, instead of get behind these boys, trying let's give them the motivation to get back in this game. The Portsmouth fans, so Fratton Park has always said to have this legendary atmosphere. Now, I'm not denying that it, on games it can do, but the games I've been with Oxford, I've never heard this, this incredible Fratton Park atmosphere. Look, it could very much be that the fans were very, maybe worried isn't the right word, but they were concerned about the last result, the fact that obviously they'd not won a game this season, they'd not scored at Fratton Park, at least with a Portsmouth player, so all that contributes to it. 2 or 3 songs is all we heard from the Portsmouth fans, and when they did chirp up, but I will give them credit for in the dying embers, and we've heard this back in March, when it gets that kind of 90th minute and the added time is announced. That's when they do pick up and try and power the players onto the final whistle. Finally, I want to touch on the reception for Josh Murphy. So obviously, like I said, Josh Murphy was the player that all eyes from an Oxford's perspective were on for Portsmouth. Obviously, we talked about in the transfer video about kind of the reasons he left, all the contributing factors to it, and that personally I don't blame him. Like I say, our goal scorer was a man that we took from Derby County. Like I say, there was a lot of hostile response to Josh Murphy when he was being read out, whenever he was on the ball. I reckon it was about 60-40 positive towards Josh. It was. I think that there was a chant. It was like "Soldier Soul" esque chant towards Josh Murphy when he was on the ball. And look, like I said, I think in the transfer video, I don't blame him for leaving. With all the factors, longer contract being offered by Portsmouth, the fact that apparently his wife is from the area, and he's got a young family, so he needs that support system. I don't blame him for that whatsoever. The overwhelming majority of fans would make the exact same swap because like job security, family connections, all that kind of thing. I think I said in the transfer in my issue was the fact that he kept saying he wanted to stay. I'm glad that I think it was Des went to him after the full-time whistle and said go and clap the Oxford fans. I think there was an undertone to that of you owe us at least that, Josh, and that's when kind of I think any negativity thankfully disappeared when he came right towards us, and we were singing his song, giving him a big ovation. So it worked out okay in the end. Just a shame he got an assist in it. But overall, let me know your thoughts on Oxford's 1-1 draw with Portsmouth at Fratton Park. Of course, the next game is in 2 weeks, a home game against West Bromwich Albion. So we'll see you for that.